Hi Claire, thank you so much for coming and talking to us on this Hangout today. We've spoken to you previously about who you are and what you do and how you help your clients. And today you wanted to talk more about breathwork. So it's one of the techniques that you use when you are working with your clients. And we're going to look at sexual energy. So I'll just pass it over to you and let you begin.
Hi Sharon, how are you doing? Yes, breath work and working with obviously sexual energy is the main area I really work with my clients with, because it's moving the stagnation of energy. I look at the base chakra, and I assume a lot of people understand chakras a little bit, at least know that we have a base, we have a sacral, we have the solar plexus, the heart chakra, the throat, the third eye, and the crown are the 7 basic ones. There are many more, but they're the main ones I will talk about today and look at with sexual energy, moving sexual energy through these points. I look at when we suppress or withhold emotions and anything, it's like we push them down into that base part. So the base part, I look at it like a big bowl of energy just sitting there and stagnates. So the stagnation, I look at like, you know, when water's stagnant, we know what happens to water when it's not moving, but we know what happens when it starts flowing. Like you see the white water coming down the rapids. To me, that's the sexual energy moving through the body, and up above where it's stagnant, that's when we're repressing it. To move this energy with breath is because when we orgasm generally and breathing, generally the Westerners will hold their breath in the chest. So when a male or a female tend to orgasm, females tend to not as much as males will hold that in the breath, in the chest, and they'll have an orgasm that will last maybe 2 seconds, 2 or 3 maybe, they'll get 3 out of it. So I say to a lot of men, from breathing up here in the chest, your little orgasm that you're used to having, in your whole lifetime, you'd be lucky to orgasm for 24 hours if you add up all those little seconds. And they go, oh my God. You know, us women, we have multiple orgasms. And a lot of the multiple orgasms come from we move our breath. And that's part of how we have our multiple orgasm as well, besides having twice as many nerve endings than what the male has. We have about 8,000 just in our clitoris, where the male will have about 4,000. So we are very sexual, us women. So any woman that says men are more sexual than women is a bit of a myth. We are very sexual. We're just very good at suppressing it in this big bowl, right? So how do we get this moving? How do we work with sexual energy? Well, obviously in this short interview I'm doing with you today, Sharon, I'm not going to be able to cure every sexual problem in a woman just by doing this short one, but this will help. It will definitely help. So when we breathe, I look at doing, I'm going to do a very 2-minute short breath with you to breathe from the belly area, but do it in a circular motion. So even though we're saying from the belly, I look at starting it from the heart center. When you breathe, a lot of people are trying to breathe and trying to feel the breath. I say, look, if you're a feeler, feel the breath, but also visualize the breath. Visualizing the breath is just as powerful as actually feeling the breath. So if we're breathing, doing a circular breath from the heart center, taking it down into the genitals, around the back of that anal area, up the buttocks, up the back of the spine, up behind the neck, over the top of the head and down the face and back to the heart. So that's our circular breath. Now, if we visualize it, and what I like to do, I visualize it like a white light. I'm a very visual person, so I'll breathe and I'll imagine the white light moving down from the heart center, down to the clitoris, because I like to feel it in the clitoris, in all those nerve endings, and moving up around the back, up the spine, because right below at our lower back, just above the buttocks and the lower part of the spine area, is where the sexual energy really sits there, and that's a part we want to move. So we'll imagine that coming right up that back of the spine, awakening what you call the kundalini, and moving this energy up behind the neck. And I know myself, I've actually just anchored orgasm behind my neck. So I can touch my neck, and I just touch it now and I feel tingles going all through the body. So so you can anchor it wherever you like. Mine just happens to be right there. Bring it up around the top of the head, over the face and back down. If you like, we can do a little activity now for you to feel that. And Sharon, if you would like to join us and do it and feel just the little movement. It might be just a small sensation, but whatever it is, it's your sensation, and just work with that and build with it. And if you can do this for 2 or 3 minutes a day, it's just going to help you connect your all your energy center of and connect the brain and vaginal connection. So this is a good little one to practice. So if you sit, I always say sit in a chair is best, because, and you know about posture, sit in a chair and have a really nice posture, your neck to be straight, your back to be straight, your hands on your knees and your feet flat squarely on the floor. And you just close your eyes and you just breathe through the nose and out the mouth, but bring the breath and visualize that breath going from the heart center down to the genitals, up the back of the spine, and in a circular movement. And just sit there for a couple of minutes and just feel that breath moving. And when you're ready, just bring yourself back and open your eyes. Oh, there you are.
That was really calming.
Yeah, it's a beautiful breath to work with. Great breath to calm, great breath to connect. And if you can feel that just in a couple of minutes, imagine how you'd feel when you do it on a regular basis. And it's something you can do, that breath, whenever you're sitting down during the day, you're about to just relax and chill before you go back into work or whatever you're doing. Just sit there and come into that place with that breath. And that will start working, moving that sexual energy. And the more you work with sexual energy and move the sexual energy, you're learning how to channel that. And you can channel that energy into whatever intention you want to. So it might be something as simple as relaxing. It could be something you might be working in in a corporate building with a lot of people, and you're going into a meeting and you're feeling a bit nervous. So if you're feeling nervous, you just want to calm yourself down to work with nerves. That's a great one to work with nerves as well. It's good to work with even confidence. Your intention might be, I want to walk into that meeting feeling confident. So just come out 3 minutes, do that breath, relax. Even just, put your hand on your tummy and feel the chi energy in the tummy and breathe into that a few times as well. So you could even just do 3 big deep breaths into there, and that will bring you back to center and just calm you down again, just to go into a room or with whatever intention you want. So working with intention, breath, and sexual energy. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. So the base chakra is obviously where we store our sexual energy, and the base chakra is always also known for grounding people. And there's a lot of emotions that are attached to that. So can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, that's where we do definitely need grounding, and the best place to do that, as we know, is in nature, on earth. To stand there, sit on it. And if you're emotional and something, if you're in a really emotional state, just to go out, sit on the ground, walk on the ground, walk on the beach, walk in nature, and breathe into. You can call it whatever you like. It's chi energy. It could be your one point in the shamanic system. That they call it your one point. Breathe into that. Put your hand there, like I was saying before, and that would just start balancing those emotions again and bringing you back out of that state. Because when you go into, as you know, as an emotional state, you can go into what you call a state of confusion. You can go into an area where you are so confused with what's going on and different chatters as well, tricksters, chatters in the brain. Bring yourself back into that place and move it. I generally find if you're in a state of real confusion, if you put your fingers just on the right shoulder, just below the right shoulder there at this point here, and you feel it being really sensitive, sometimes that's where the state of confusion will sit, and it's quite a sensitive little spot. So that needs to be brought back over here and back down here, back into a place where you balance that energy again, and you're then balancing the state of your emotion. Yeah.
So knowing that everything's interconnected, in balancing your emotions that are in the base chakra, will that also help the sexual energy?
Most definitely. So yes, when your sexual energy is moving and is in motion and working with it, your emotions are in motion. So you're actually comfortable in whatever emotion you go into. Even if you go into an emotion of grief and trauma, which is a really a real negative emotion, which is fear-based, that emotion is probably one of the worst ones we work with. And if we can work okay with that, moving sexual energy through that, imagine any other emotion that's joyful, happy, those emotions then are going to come so much easier to us with their pleasure emotion. So we're working with pleasure. If we can really work with the pain of the emotion, the fear of the emotion, by moving the sexual energy, it's going to be easy for us to get clarity of the mind to be able to know how to respond to that rather than react to it. If we've got that energy moving through, it's sending neuron transmitters through the body into the brain and giving us a sense of calmness, a sense of being relaxed, a sense of being in a different state. So if it is an orgasmic sort of state, and being in orgasm, when you're in orgasm, you are not thinking of any other thing in orgasm. Orgasm is a pure state of bliss. It's a place where it's impossible for you to be in the midst of orgasm and be angry, be sad, and have any of those emotions. So really working with the breath and working with that energy will stabilize pretty much all the emotions, even though we do need to move through them. Like you were saying to me once before, when you're in you find it, because you're a happy, bubbly person, if you're feeling a bit flat or going into that state, you can move through it and respond to it really easily now, where before you had a place of darkness, like I did as well, where it took a little bit more time. It was a healing place to be. Once you learn how to work and heal that area when you're in the darkness and come out into a place where you now have the skills and techniques on knowing how to move through it, it becomes easier. It becomes easier when we go through different traumas, because no matter what, there's going to be a time where we do suffer grief. We're not going to escape these things. We're human. It's how we deal with it, how we respond with it, how we're in our own body, and how we can move that energy within the body. Yeah.
And talking about negative emotions and sex, there's so much peer pressure on us to conform a certain way. Or, you know, I got brought up in a very strict religion, and it was like, well, you can only have sex when you got married, and, you know, gay is really bad, and this and that. And so we all, whether we were taught that as a child or not, society tells us that. So therefore it layers on guilt, and so that's all stuck there as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of shame and guilt around sexuality, and a lot of misconceived ideas, and a lot of them come from exactly what you're saying. From religion is one big part of it. Religion for thousands of years have told us that sex is dirty, sex is wrong, sex is everything, that, and it comes down to using sex as a control, and that's what's happened. So it's been indoctrinated into us for so many years that it's very, you know, it's relearning, unlearning to relearn.
Yeah,
so unlearn everything we were taught, to reprogram and relearn how our body is naturally and how we are naturally as a sexual being. And if we go back, way back, thousands of years ago, in the shamans and the Cherokee Indians used to teach the boys as young as 8, 9, 10 years of age how to go into full body orgasm, so they could work a strategy on their intention on how to hunt a buffalo. And they were taught this from, you know, the older woman would teach the younger boy, and she would take him under her wing, not just for a year or two, but he would be have a teacher all his life, a sex teacher. You know, sometimes the teacher changed, but she was always about 20 years older than him. And she would take him on the journey of, you know, the rite of passage from boy to manhood. And even in a man, you come into, there's more rites of passages. There's not just one. There could be quite a few along the way that she would help lead him through and guide him through. So imagine if our males were all taught from a young age about sexuality, us females would never be wandering around wondering what to do, because we already would have a man that would know what they're doing.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that be nice? Yes.
We need to petition for that to happen.
That's right. That's right. So the teachings of who we are naturally that have now been untaught in society and been the misconceptions throughout our whole lives, you know, we're out there now to teach how we're meant to be naturally, or who we are naturally. I mean, when we look at it, we were born out of, you know, our conception was born through sex and an orgasm, and so every cell in our body is a sex cell. So we're sexual beings. We're born for pleasure. Procreation is such a small part of it. If we were born for procreation, it wouldn't take us 1,000 times of pleasure to have procreate one child. You know, we have more pleasure having sex than we do procreate. That's just a part of it. Yeah.
I want to go back to that, the religion and the guilt thing, just because I know for me, when I have an orgasm, that's when I feel closest to God. That's when I feel closest to energy. I'm completely out of my body, and I am connected in that moment. Nothing else around me matters, just me and my body sensations and the energy that I'm feeling. And, you know, society's told us that that's wrong. I mean, how can that be so wrong?
Because orgasm is so powerful. Imagine if everyone was in touch with their orgasm and being these powerful beings. It's fear-based. We live in a world where the leaders of the world, the church leaders, they fear, especially the woman's orgasm. Our orgasm is so powerful, and women are so powerful and intuitive, and women have been a fear for thousands of years. I mean, if we go back to the hunting and the witch burning and everything, they feared the power. And unfortunately, that's what it came down to, is power, control. Let's suppress this sexuality. Even for men, if you've read up anything about the male foreskin and circumcision on males, going back, they say that they did it for health reasons. They circumcised a male. They actually did it because they wanted to take a bit of feeling away from men, because it takes away 40% of the feeling, taking away the foreskin. So it helps slow them down on masturbation. So it was more about, we don't want to masturbating and enjoying the pleasure, so we're going to take away their foreskin. The foreskin is the most receptive bit of skin on the male's body. And that foreskin is linked to a part of the brain that is to bond men to women. Yeah, so many, yeah, so that's all comes back to religion and control once again. You know, they say it was a health problem because men were getting infections sometimes, although they weren't cleaning. But around that foreskin and the lubrication inside the foreskin, that's all self-cleaning, like our vaginas are self-cleaning. What was happening is they were forcing foreskin back, and when it's too early, because it's meant to fall off on its own when it's ready, they were forcing the foreskin back, and then it would get an infection from being forced. And that's just lack of education. Everything comes back down to lack of education and not enough information going out there to the masses so they know. If everyone knew these things, you know, and understood orgasm and the power behind the orgasm, my God, we would be in a very different society today. Yeah.
Wow, I'm so looking forward to learning more from you, to reading more of your articles. I'm so glad that you are one of our experts in our membership area and our magazine. I think what you are doing is absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to have more conversations with you, because I didn't know any of that stuff, you know, and it's just really powerful to learn the background behind these things that we've been taught, and then we can make our own decisions. We can either choose to believe them or choose to make our own decision. Like, we have that power, but once we have that information, once we have that knowledge, we can then be informed about how we want to be. And I think that we all need more orgasms. The conclusion to this is we need more orgasms.
We need more orgasms, yes. Well, you know, as Mae West said, an orgasm a day keeps a doctor away. And it is, you know, it's, why not start the day off with one every day? And even women that are feeling numb, just a message to the women that are feeling numb and going through menopause, that don't feel sexual at all, that don't want to masturbate or have sex with their partners or husbands, I just suggest to them to do it for their health and well-being. Forget about the sexual pleasure for now then, and just do it for your health and well-being, and eventually the pleasure and the sexuality feeling of orgasm will come back to them. That's one bit of advice I give to women that are feeling that. And use lots of lubrication, Yeah.
I think that's amazing advice, because it brings up all the happy hormones, doesn't it? Like, you're in that state of euphoria, so all of your happy hormones come out to play. So, you know, it's going to make you happier, and it's a lasting effect as well through the day.
Yes, it helps with aging. It helps with women. I mean, when you see a woman walk out of a room that's just had an orgasm, now I see it often, obviously, but, you know, when you do see a woman that's just had an orgasm, it takes years off her. She looks more radiant. She's back in her feminine, which is just beautiful. It's beautiful to see a woman go from this, you know, feeling she's got to be the man as well as the woman, which becomes quite hard in her looks, to go back into this beautiful, feminine, radiant woman through orgasm, you know, and then she starts attracting all sorts of things into her life, good things. Yeah. Orgasm.
Thank you so much for today. If you can tell people where to find you, I'm sure they want to learn more from you. If you can point us to your website and all of your contact details, that would be wonderful.
Yep, fantastic. You can find me at claireflynn.com.au. Contact details as well, phone number, or just
entirely up to you.
Yes, look, you can text me on 0407 018 383, or just email me at mail@claireflynn.com.au. Email is great because if you've got any questions, I'm quite happy to respond to answer any of your questions. So mail@claireflynn.com.au would be great to hear from you. And anyone that does message me, email me, I will respond to them as soon as I can, within 24 hours, hopefully.
Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yeah, thank you. It's been wonderful to see you again, Sharon.